I read reviews for the fragrance Ébène Fumé by Tom Ford. It's for men and for women on Fragrantica.com. Tom Ford, Ébène Fumé. The main accords are woody, amber, smoky, balsamic, warm spicy, fresh spicy, aromatic. Ébène Fumé by Tom Ford is an amber woody fragrance for men and women. This is a new fragrance. Ébène Fumé was launched in November 2021. Top notes are incense, Palo Santo, black pepper, and violet leaf. Middle notes are leather, lavandin, cade oil, papyrus, and rose. Base notes are resin, ebony tree, and guaiac wood. Tom Ford unveils a new fragrance from the private blend collection called Ébène Fumé, or Smoked Ebony. The scent represents the mystical ancient essence of Palo Santo wood, whose scent and smoke are believed to cleanse from negative energy. There is also ebony that stands for calm and enlightened luxury. Mindfulness meeting opulence, Ébène Fumé promises a fragrance of transcendental aura and spiritual peace, focused on warm woody notes, fresh herbs, resins, and sumptuous flowers. Palo Santo wood releasing purifying mystical aromas that mix earthy, woody, and floral aromas, as well as pine needles and incense. Tom Ford Ébène Fumé is available as 50 ml eau de parfum. Most folks have it as long-lasting. Sillage is moderate. The gender is mostly unisex, leaning towards male. The general consensus is it is overpriced. Some people have it reminding them to other fragrances such as Gucci Pour Homme, Black Afghano, Boy Smoke Moroccan by Tom Ford, Encre Noir, L'Extreme Lalique, and Ludano Nero Tiziano Terenzi. All right. The latest review is from Andy the Frenchie. The top note is very nice, woody, leathery amber. The base is just vanilla guaiac wood, rosewood, with a touch of incense, aka a glorified oud wood. Ooh. Overall, quite similar to YSL 24 Rue with similar notes, but YSL does it better, in my opinion. That delivers twice more juice for the same price. No valid reason to go for this Ébène Fumé. Joe C. said, "This is a sticky, smoky, sweet, woodsy scent and ideal for winter days. Quite unique. The smoky vibe dwindles, leaving the sweet resinous notes. The scent lasts all day on my skin and clothes, but the sillage is intimate, which I think is a good thing. Sometimes the sweeter scents are best kept close for you to nuzzle with. Happy to have this one in my collection for those cold evenings by the fireplace." That was nice. Ude Mel said, "This is a mix of so many things that I wanted to name one specifically but couldn't. Santal 33, some up from that. Gucci Pour Homme, yeah, a lot from this one. Encre Noir, also a bit from it, and even some from Santa Blush. Pencil shavings from GPH, the Gucci Pour Homme, sandalwood, leather, and sour note from Santa 33, and even a moldy drawer from Ancre Noir. Not bad, but forgettable. Love that smell a lot, said. A sweet, caramelly, smoked scent a la by the fireplace in vibe, not necessarily scent. Overall pleasant, but not something I want to wear. Note to self. Infinitely better than Soleil Brûlant, but not that great. You'd never wear it. Fine to have a small sample for an occasional whiff. The Gucci Pour Homme, I believe, GPH I is much better. I don't get the comparisons. Cal Drummer, a smoky, resinous, woody fragrance. Sort of makes me think of burning Palo Santo incense out in a coniferous forest. But despite the name and the description I just gave, I would not call this a dark fragrance. You are not out in the forest at a bonfire night, but rather lighting that incense in a crisp, cold, and dry but sunny day. It's smooth and classy and great for colder weather. The woods aren't heavy, but rather dry and aromatic. Leans heavily on the masculine side, but I think it could be worn by some woman who might like the vibe. Estuamilo said, what a woody fragrance and how different from anything else I have tested. Wearing this fragrance is a statement. I really appreciate Ébène Fumé because its warmth ignites feelings. 7.5 out of 10. Jupiter Moon said, I mainly get incense, wood, and cade oil. Opens with incense on wood, then drives down to reveal the cade oil, juniper, and papyrus, a general forest pine wood scent. Recently, I have been trying some incense fragrances such as a Midnight Stroll Gucci, also with cade oil, and Velvet Incenso Dolce & Gabbana. This is in a similar vein, a classy, formal type of incense. However, I do think those other two are more distinct. I would go for Midnight Stroll if I wanted a dark forest green type of woody scents. This seems to be following a trend, keeping competitive with the other houses, so it is generally safe and not really unique. Good for winter and fall, autumn, more for formal evenings or calm social situations, and mature. Leans more masculine with the leather, tar, and resin notes. Quality ingredients. Candy Andy said, this smells like a medieval wooden cabin to me, in a good way. I get two main components from the scent. First is semi-dark wood, not as dark as oud wood would be, but not as light as, for example, sandalwood or cedar. The wood is still full of resins, not old and dry. The second main component I smell is honey, specifically waxy honeycombs. It's not listed as a note, but I totally smell it there. A great accord, sweet but not too much, and very wearable. I get the hype this fragrance seems to have. Ébène Fumé is a rare, perfect balance of unique and approachable that Tom Ford is, or used to be known for. I'm not sure I'd pay full retail for it, but it is a great scent. Bubbles 1964. Today I'm wearing Ébène Fumé. This isn't a proper review as I'm about 2 hours in my first wearing, but I was struck by how similar this new Tom Ford is to a favorite of mine, Noir Exquise by L'Artisan Parfumeur. The only note they share between them is ebony wood, where Ébène Fumé is primarily a sweet incense wood compared to Noir Exquisite is a gourmand woody scent. But something about their profiles and shared use of ebony evoked a strong connection. I'm also thinking Ébène Fumé might have vanilla in it, even though it's not listed. So far as I can tell, performance is going well. It takes a lot for me to pull the trigger for perfumes in this price range, but I'm really enjoying my maiden voyage. Not the most unique offering, but a solid perfume, and I can easily imagine why somebody would love Ébène Fumé if they haven't had nothing else in their closet that matched it. Lou Forge said, I would say it's not an original scent, and the opening accords are identical to Sahara Noir, which is discontinued. But the dry down goes to a smoky wood oud with just a delicate sweetness and spice like Gucci Pour Homme, another discontinued fragrance. I think Tom combined both into this elegant parfum elixir nevertheless. They were my signature fragrances, and Ford has combined both, which I have the best of two in a bottle. Longevity is good, around 5 to 7 hours, with sillage not far behind. It's a complimenter getter too. It won't disappoint. Ararak 1 said, I own Gucci Pour Homme, and I smell the same DNA. Ébène Fumé smells very similar, but with a hint of incense. Outside of that, Ébène Fumé is a fantastic for the winter months, with a smell of fire-burned wood incense which dries down to a smooth wood base. One of my recent favorites. You can call it a lighter version of Tom Ford Tobacco Oud. Valino said, an absolute dead ringer for the lovely and discontinued Gucci Pour Homme. A bit darker and woodier, but the same DNA. I'm so happy for finding my old love in this new bottle. Alive said, sampled it yesterday. Yes, it smells very nice. It's about woods and incense. Yes, yet it doesn't remind me of a Catholic church. Too expensive in my opinion for what it offers. The dry down reminds me of discontinued Gucci Rush just a bit. Ébène Fumé lacks the smoothness of Gucci Rush. The only good side of Ébène is that it lasts a lot. J.D. Hunterweight said, am I insane, or is this very, very similar to John Vivarto's Dark Rebel Rider? That one was composed by Rodrigo Flores Ruz, who's definitely done several other Tom Ford fragrances. I wouldn't be surprised if he's behind this one and borrowed from previous work. He did that with Commodity Leather. Interesting. Michael Nordstrand said, at St. Demas, there likely isn't Palo Santo oil in the composition because the oil usually contains 0.5% of mint lactone, which of course IFRA forbade with their 50th amendment on June 30th, 2021, effective for new submissions as of August 30th, 2021. Givaudan perfumers could have been working with the material before the sudden amendment was published, but in all likelihood they were forced to approximate the scent with limonene, terpenoid, and some of the minty and anisic notes characteristic of Palo Santo oil like Carviol, etc. Because of the time slated for their release didn't allow the research and development and suppliers sufficient time to catch up with a fractionally distilled product to remove the mint lactone, and Givaudan always follows IFRA standards. Of course, you know IFRA and perfumers, raw materials, R&D are forever in arms race like predators and prey. As I used to work with the Tom Ford brand, I never go out of my way to smell the new releases anymore, but I'll give this a sniff at some point just to see what they've done since Agar, Givco, Cedramquer, and Musk sound so predictable and probably very accurate. Just curious, since you smelled it, no cypriol note or gyokol for the marketing allegations around the guaiac wood. These two materials impart smokiness with such ease, like a foregone conclusion they would use them, but I am curious what you think since I haven't gotten to smell this yet. Quick edit. I've actually just had a quick look around and noted that a number of websites do list Palo Santo wood accord rather than the actual raw material, which, as you definitely put it, is definitely not in this composition. Oh my God. Nushin Agathias said, it's all about smoked woods. Perfume has played a role in religion since ancient times, and religion is playing a surprising role in contemporary fragrance creation. That's what you find in Tom Ford's newest private blend member. The dark side of wood through ebony alongside Palo Santo as a sacred incense wood. Palo Santo traditionally has been used in rituals because it is believed to have purifying properties. So as Tom Ford says it, Ébène Fumé has an almost spiritual sensuality that uplifts your mood. Ébène Fumé starts up a little fresh, lemony, woody, and incensey. Something like burnt Palo Santo special is obviously there. Then it's followed by the papyrus green vibe in the background, while black pepper brings a powerful spicy accord. And in the base, it smolders with a strong mix of woody notes containing cade, guaiac, and ebony on a sour resinous bed. That is nice. Madame Vanille said, nice, but not for me. Immediately after initial spray, it propelled me back to a time of crystals and head shops, extremely reminiscent of the incense you smell at any New Age store or festival. Way too pricey. CRTY smells like Encre Noir a la Extreme if it was in a church and had some Palo Santo. Way overpriced, but the projection is literally insane. I guess get this while it lasts. DWR Rube. Smells great but very familiar. Immediately reminded me of Replica's Jazz Club. This is a scent I know very well because I wear it a few times a month. D. Mary Barrymore, 21. This reminds me of Black Afghano. Long last info. Show. Plogic said, I'd have to disagree with the reviewer below who says it smells like a Catholic church. Avignon by CDG smells like a Catholic church, but I suppose it depends on what's burning in your local thurible. To me, this smells like 50% like Black Afghano, 25% Mur Imperial, 25% Encre Noir, a la Extreme. I'm not sure if I love the combo yet, even though I quite like each of those individually. And the notes of this one is listed anyway. Perfumes makes me happy, said. This is very familiar scent in the Catholic Church. Oh, he's talking about that because he's in the future and we're going backwards. If you like this type of scent, you will love this one. Olympe said, this is sharp, unpleasant, and quiet. I do not really get smoke from this, just vaguely sticky, freshly sawn wood, but it comes across pretty synthetic to me. It kind of has the same vibe as Huel, but Huel, though harshly woody to me, has this sort of austere, clean spa vibe. I find this kind of irritating to smell. Italian cypress smelled like a luxury campfire to me. This is freshly sawed dried white wood in a cellophane warehouse with a cheap amber candle burning somewhere on the far side of the room. I will give them points for going back to closer to the normal overcharged Tom Ford pricing, not the ridiculous Rojadove prices they were trying. Estee Lauder needs to at least pretend to put in an effort. Gosh, I'm not sure what it is, but this perfume is literally physically unpleasant to me. There is some synthetic chemicals that I can feel my nose when I go to smell it. If anyone has had that experience before, Sarito84 said, very smooth, very nice, ideal for autumn. The projection is biggest letdown. Starts off like voice Moroccan, then ends up a mix of different fragrances, some Gucci Rush men's vibe. Was hoping for bold and powerful. This is practically a skin scent. Maple syrup. Yo, Lamb Dark Lord. TF London is animalic, fecal, and skanky. Ébène Fumé is woody, peppery, and warm. Really a beautiful fragrance. To me, EF is much closer to TF Santal Blush, but darker and more peppery than Santal Blush. And despite having a full bottle of Santal Blush, I blind purchased a 50 ml bottle of Ébène Fumé with no regrets. Oh, and this is who he was responding to. Oh, it's I Am Dark Lord. Ooh. Bought this blindly because of GPH Papyrus Oud 71 Bentley comparisons for obvious reasons, since all the same genius that is Michel Alamerac, but I don't get any resemblance to that. I feel I am smelling Tom Ford London. The funny thing is, I just got rid of my bottle and I buy this and it screams London. Anyone else with me on this one? Not maple syrup. Terrell said, a woody resinous campfire with incense. It's pretty forthright but boring. Teh said, wow, okay, I 200% agree with the review that said this felt like a DJ remixing all of the greatest hits, or like an AI trying to put all the bestsellers all TGT. It's like a combo of a lot of familiar chords you've come across many times in the past, so it's got to be pleasant, but nothing is really unique or memorable about this. At the end of the day, it makes it above the average. The first sniff reminded me a lot of Nathalie Lorson's Pulver 23's opening. Then it fades into a hint of Ludano Nero and some generic designer vibe kind of accords, and a very similar bass to Doro of Nosamato. Not so much of the black Afgano though. The bottle color is sick though. I Make No Sense said, oh, this one. I can describe this scent in this fashion. Woody fire, fireplace, fire pit, campfire, outdoor fireplace, indoor fireplace, burning woody goodness. Woodsy, smoky, burny, woodsy, crackling fire, walking down a neighborhood sidewalk in the winter, snow everywhere, and you catch that unique whiff that makes you say to your partner, ooh, someone's got a fire going. It's like that. Plus, my girlfriend told me she couldn't get her nose off my neck. Fresh Living said, just got back about 3 hours ago from the Holt Renfrew, where the sales associate sprayed this on my hand. I can't get a sample, as across Canada they haven't received their full shipments. This was back in December of 21. So I won't be able to take a week-long test drive to see what it's all about, but my nostrils are buried in my hand. It does smell like Gucci Poron 100%, but obviously not an exact replica. But they were birthed from the same family tree. I have a little 5 ml sample of GPH, which I used up as it was divine. A perfect male cooler season fragrance which should have never been discontinued. I will never understand why they do that. If something sells and is popular, keep selling it and creating it. Dang. Anyways, I do really like this fragrance, but I'm not over the moon. Have to have it. On my skin, I get a velvety concoction of amber and of incense, making me relate to an image of a viscous boozy syrup that has thin smoke rings bellowing from it in a cabin with a dim lighting on a cold night, with books lining the wall and cognac in a snifter on the table, while the fire crackles and the heat in the background. It's sensuous and sexual, with a touch of sweetness that is ultimately tamed by the incense, which doesn't allow it to be too cloying. I will say there is something missing from it. Maybe something to cut the heaviness of the mixture, to let everything breathe a little, because right from the start, it's a heavy fragrance. And that may be where it comes from, where it becomes more of an occasional wear rather than a go-to. It's a specific scent, Ébène Fumé, and it feels like it needs a certain light, airy, zesty accord to uplift it a little, which I believe would make the woods and amber come more alive than rather bring it down as deep as it is. I think a splash of Tambourmare by Creed added to this, layering these two, could be perfect actually. It's definitely a fall fragrance and a winter nighttime scent. I wouldn't use it as an everyday scent, but more occasionally. I find many Tom Ford private blends to be like that. They're not everyday signature scents, but they cater to a more specific occasion. I own Tuscan leather, and it's the same. I only wear that with a leather jacket and when I want to get up to no good and explore my inner animal, LOL. All in all, I would buy it, but a 50 ml would be just fine. However, when the 100 ml becomes available, I would spring for that just in case it does get discontinued, because it is a sexy scent. But I'm also in no rush. Oh, and the bottle is fitting for the smell. This has a vintage, classy, refined, dignified, slightly old school leather-bound book feeling to it, but the clear glass is misleading because it gives a sense that this is somewhat light, which it is not. It should be all dark with brown glass for its current formulation. Azu LX said, "This smells like a Tom Ford fragrance. It was actually a genuine surprise to me because the previous newer fragrances did not have that Tom Ford feeling to them whatsoever. When I smelt this, I instantly thought, Tom Ford, which is a good thing considering it brings that very nostalgic feeling of firstly sampling the original private blend. A strong incense with a clean woody top. It settles more into a soft incense, and that wood is brought out more. It becomes sort of a rosy, but this kind of dies down after a while on my skin. The price tag is insane, as Tom Ford fragrances typically are, but nevertheless, this was a pleasant surprise, and I say I do enjoy this fragrance. If I smelt this on someone, I'd compliment them without a doubt. Very nice and easy to wear. I'd also say unisex too. You probably could pull this off in the spring or warmer weather too." Dougal 76. Is it just me that thinks that this smells like Tom Ford's iteration of Giorgio Armani Mirror Imperiale? I mean, in a good way, as I love it. As I love me, huh? Oh, Mirror Imperiale. He loves that stuff, man. Hojoko 46584. A Middle Eastern bakery and a temple on fire. It smells good, but I don't know. Vegas Pauli. I'm surprised no one compares this with Sahara Noir. Albeit this is light and fresher, so maybe Sahara EDT or Sahara Luel. This, however, has Sahara's bite and power. This is a very pleasant, smoky, resinous scent that will appeal to many. I have a lot of incense-heavy scents. Ferragamo incense suede being my favorite. So I do like this because I prefer more strength and punch in my smoke. I like this, but I'm not in love with it. I feel Tom Ford's newer releases are attempting to be more mainstream to appeal to the masses, which isn't a bad thing. I can see people loving this release. Staying power and projection are all about average. As a fan of Tom Ford original groundbreaking private blends and of incense, I give this a semi-enthusiastic thumbs up. Sub-Zero said, Tom Ford Ébène Fumé alternative. Cremo Palo Santo, yup, they smell very similar. SMH. Save your money, get the Cremo instead. Steven MPX said, I've lived with this a bit now, and I'm actually quite disappointed. It doesn't have the smoothness of Gucci Pour Homme, although there are similarities. It has a choppy sort of base. I can't quite put my finger on what makes it so choppy. Perhaps it's the blending or maybe some ambroxan. The smokiness doesn't come out on my skin as it does on the blotter, and I sense no Palo Santo in this, that lovely smoky charred wood scent. Instead, it smells like plain dried woods and spices with a little bit of incense. I don't really pick up on the leather either, which I think would smooth out the composition. I do agree with at Keller Girl. So there is something skanky in here, almost like a cumin-esque note. It's not bad, but falls short of my expectations. They had the right idea, but it just isn't what I hoped for. I'll wear it here and there anyhow, though. Oh, yeah, he was referring to Miss Keller Girl. I thought from the notes I would love this, but I don't like it at all. There's something skanky in here, and not sure where it's coming from. You can do better than this, Tom Ford. Iron Nerf said, watch me buy the bottle and not being able to resist slapping a secondary label on it. Fire at the Renaissance Fair. 2 sprays and there you are, setting fire to an incense and oils tent at the Ren Fair while merrily chopping away on an entire handful Abbaye de Flagino violet pastilles. Good times. Gabe Palabras said, rich blast of harmonies of wood and some smoke that opens the way to a soft leather, leaving a creamy sweet texture like syrup, reminding me a bit of Luton's Participate Passé. Spiros Cypriot said, just sample this. It's a smoky scent with no sweetness. It does not smell like the discontinued Gucci Pour Homme one at all. Gucci Pour Homme has a sweet, airy incense and much more sillage. I think it was upvoted to Gucci Pour Homme because it has similar main accords and colored juice. Okay, Grumpy Pie Pariah said, I literally opened this about 15 minutes ago, sharing initial impressions. It's good, not great. I like it a lot, but not on of my top Tom Fords. I think it's unisex, but in my opinion, it leans a bit masculine, maybe because of the violet. Primarily leather and smoke incense. The violet, I think, is jumping out at me like Dior Fahrenheit. But not sure I'm fooling myself from having seen the violet note. I think I smell Palo Santo again, not sure if it's psychosomatic or not. Smells very natural. High price tag, but blended nicely. Maybe slightly high for what it is. Not strong projecting fragrance. Definitely sits close to the skin. I've had 3 sprays on the back of my hand for maybe 10 minutes, so I can't speak at all to longevity. I like it, I'll wear it, but not like, oh my God, I gotta have it. Saint Dismas. Oh, the guy was referring to Saint Dismas. As a perfumer, I can assure you there is no Palo Santo oil in this whatsoever. Strange, considering the material is relatively inexpensive. which wouldn't be a problem if the accord even remotely mimicked the beautiful smell of the oil, but it's not even close. So the other guy was referring to this because of banned materials that are included in the Palo Santo blend. Okay, and this is an earlier review because we're going back in time as we go down the page. Palo Santo is an anistic, spicy, smoked wood and lemons, and Ébène Fumé doesn't express that in a unique way at all. For those who have noted that they feel they smell oud, you are correct in your prospective assumptions. What you smell is a material called black agar, a powdery amber animalic used to mimic oud as a base to build oud accords from. Essentially, that is all this perfume is. Black agar, little cedramacre, and musks. 17 said, if you programmed an AI to aggregate the most popular men's smoky, spicy orientals of the past few years and create a fragrance out of them, it would give you Ébène Fumé. There's not a single beat in this composition of this fragrance that hasn't been done in a better style by another fragrance. Ébène Fumé is like a DJ remixing greatest hits of the year at New Year's Eve party. The experience isn't bad per se, since those songs have already been tried and tested on an army of dedicated fans, but you're going to go there hoping to listen to some new music, prepared to be disappointed. Felipe Bizarro 1 said, a bed of violets where Palo Santo, amber, and resins play a beautiful image of a relaxing scenario. I wish I could be in the spa with this scent all over the place. Great release. Finally, a true niche Tom Ford. Smelly dude. Ébène Fumé has a calming effect on me, same as oud would. I like it. The dry down reminds me of the discontinued Gucci Rush for Men, a smoky rush for men. It does not resemble tobacco oud or Gucci Pour Homme in my humble opinion. I like tobacco oud, but that one is a beast and in your face. This is subtle and smooth, smoky and warm. Pico Lico, very spicy, peppery, otherwise woody and smoky. Dr. Rosie said, hanging out with my sister for Thanksgiving, she purchased 3 fragrances for me. This was one of them. I am not a leather fragrance lover, but this one is different. It has a little sweetness to it, which makes it different to me. It reminds me a little bit of Amber Absolute. Fumunga said, not sure what I think about this one yet. About 45 minutes after 2 sprays, it's finally calming down. Initially very strong, smoky, methylated smelling. It must be the cade oil that's giving off this menthol scent. I was hoping for more wood, so fingers crossed that the notes will become more woody as time progresses. Right now, I completely disagree that this smells like Gucci Pour Homme. GPH is cedar heavy out the gate, and this definitely is not. Gucci one is smooth. This is a smoky leather resin bomb, which isn't subtle or shy. We'll update later on the dry down. P.S. So this didn't change all that much over time. It just faded but stayed the same scent-wise. I don't really like it and returned it to Sephora. Next. Francesco 02. I got the chance to smell this at the Tom Ford counter today. This is a really nice fragrance, but definitely not for me. It opens up very pungent and very smoky. Not sure if there's oud in this, but the opening smells somewhat oud adjacent. As it develops, it starts smelling like a luxury boutique, all dark woods and demeaning attitude. On the dry down, the resins come through, giving this a sweeter ambery tone, which is really comforting and smooths out the fragrance, which might be off-putting at first. If you want to wear this, you need the attitude and look to pull this off. Very serious, very bougie, and very dark, sleek, luxurious wardrobe. No monograms allowed here. As much as I don't believe in gendered fragrances, this would classify as a traditionally masculine leaning. However, I could see this being successful among sapphics. What the hell is a sapphic? Definitely needs testing. But if you're into smoky oud, dark, woody fragrance, this is basically the textbook of example for how a fragrance like of that kind should be done. Tyler, 2004 Durden, said, I was very excited when I saw this new release from Tom Ford, my favorite brand. The name, the bottle, the color, the note breakdown of the scent, it all screamed my kind of fragrance, and I was sure I was going to have to spend my hard-earned money on a full bottle, but I was wrong and very disappointed. I smelled this at Douglas store in Budapest and sprayed it on my hand, where I sniffed it throughout the day. To me, this smells like a boring, uninspired mix between Bois Moroccan and Santal Blush with a faint hint of Dolce & Gabbana the one. I own a bottle of Bois Moroccan Reserve Collection, and I love it. I also own a bottle of Santal Blush, but I'm not such a huge fan of that one. It's just okay. I also own a bottle of the one, which I do not like and never wear. So all this combo doesn't do it for me. I don't even bother to get a sample because I couldn't imagine wearing it ever. It seemed rushed to me like a fragrance that just isn't finished. I'd say test it before you buy it always. Never buying blind, buy. Ken Mees said, if you like Amber Absolute, you will like this. Ramen Bandit Dunn said, exquisite. This is Tom Ford at his roots. Personally, this smells better than oud would to me, and quite honestly, the performance blows it out of the water. Palo Santo with light hints of incense and peppers, slightly conifer smelling that makes this a very calming scent. Past the incense opening, you are hit with various herbal tones on top of a delicious amber that keeps this on the cleaner end of a smoky scent. It does smell familiar, but I can't place it. It feels like a combo of other scents, but all the best parts. One of the best new releases of the year. I do think this is more of special occasion scent rather than everyday wear. To note, been wearing this one extensively as of late and wanted to update a thought. This seems to polymorph into multiple fragrances depending on the stage of the scent. Opening reminds me of Amber Absolute with smoky elements. Mid is more like Black Afghano with that ambery wood and dry down. And I swear I smell Tom Ford for Men Extreme. Miss Zygetiku said, it's not bad, but I just can't get over the fact how close it smells to Bentley for Men Absolute, which cost like $30. Also getting Black Afghano vibes as well. It's not a bad release by itself, but way too overpriced for what you get. Laura S. Pleasant scent, but not impressed. Reminds me of Santal Blush, more deep, sweet style, not worse. Cash sign. SPC Miller was about to give up on Tom Ford after the last couple of turds they released, but this one is redeeming. My SA Scentivizer at Nordstrom gave my son and I a sample last week, and I went back and bought a bottle. I feel that the price of admission is high, but not ridiculous. This is a wonderful daytime fall winter scent, but in the summer it may become cloying. Longevity is ridiculous, and sillage is good. A delightful, if not inherently innovative new entry, and definitely worth trying. Mr. Boston. Smoke, conifers, incense. This perfume performed like a bisque on me. 3 sprays lasted 15 hours through dinner, sleep, shower, and until lunchtime the next day. Was still getting whiffs, and I was shocked. Edit. After acquiring a bottle of this, I have now given it several full wearings. Scent profile on this is very similar to Gucci Pour Homme 1. I have done 2 side-by-side comparisons. Ébène Fumé acts like Gucci Pour Homme Extreme with the coniferous notes amped up. GPH drives down lighter and brighter. Flippy1 said, overall solid release. Probably not win over many haters, but will keep the fans happy. Nice bottle variation too. Tom Ford manages to make his scents smell expensive and aspirational to me. Flippy1 had another review. Just finally had it. This is previous. Just finally had it. Had a spritz at Harrods. Old school style Tom Ford scent for me. A spicier, smokier version of Santal Blush. Very nice. Not amazed by it yet. Sometimes they are slow growers. Don't really get into get tobacco oud at all, like some have said. Odie Rose. This is a lighter version of Nasamato Black Afghano. Nothing new. Neon Legs said, it's not that I don't like Ébène Fumé, which is quite pleasant. I love Palo Santo. I burn the wood frequently while meditating at the altar I've set up for ancestors and simply to clear the air and add gorgeous scent to my home and creative studio. I also have body balm that features Palo Santo essential oil, and I use that to perfume my skin. I was so excited when I first read about Tom Ford's foray into Palo Santo, since I'm looking for a fragrance to wear in place of my balm. I finally sampled Ébène Fumé today at Nordstrom, spraying it twice on my inner forearm. It's a lightly woody fragrance that fades into a skin scent within the first hour, and within the second hour, it reminds me of the dry down of his other spicy, rosy, woody fragrances, namely Rose Prick. But I'm sure people have mentioned others. I don't plan on purchasing a bottle because for the price I expect to be wowed. Also because I do love Palo Santo oil so much, I prefer a more natural version of its scent made with essential oil. Ébène Fumé is nice, but not what I'm seeking. Heel Mac 1968 said, I see other reviews about this scent aren't that super positive. For me, this scent is extraordinary. It sits on my skin perfectly. It is not overpowering or obnoxious, but it is definitely there. It is a nice masculine scent, and my wife loves it. I am sure that she could rock this too. There is smoke, there is incense, and there is leather. The combination of these three are exquisite and perfectly blended. There is a faint hint of rose, and I've layered it with Tom Ford Rose Prick, and it works awesome. Tom Ford Ébène Fumé is long-lasting for me, and it is perfect fall-winter ad. I would test it before you buy it, but if you like incense, leather, and smoky smells, this is a home run. ETBQ said, very good opening. I like it a lot. Then it turns into a smell, some tobacco oud vibes of a church with incense. Imagine entering a church, and at the dry down, it reminded me of a mix of woods and Santal Blush. Good fragrance, but nothing special. I think Tom Ford could do it better. This house is my favorite, but again, as the last releases, this is a pass for me, nothing special. Scent, 7.5 out of 10. Compliments, 7 out of 10. Sillage, 8.5 out of 10. Longevity, 8.5 out of 10. Overall, 7.8. Buy it? No. Leather Orris Violet. Everyone was hyping this up as a return to Tom Ford. Return to form for Tom Ford. Well, prepare to be let down. Sure, I appreciate that it's under $300 and it doesn't smell like a Macy's fragrance. I also appreciate the color of the juice, but that's where my appreciation for this fragrance ends. How to sum this one up? Been there, done that. And I don't mean to say this is similar to masterpieces that Tom Ford has discontinued. Quite the contrary. This smells like every single inoffensive, unoriginal incense fragrance ever made. I smell my wrist and I have no emotion. Nothing about this smell tells me that it is a Tom Ford. It's a thin smell completely unlike discontinued powerhouses such as Gucci Pour Homme 1, Gucci Rush, Gucci Envy, Bois Moroccan, Sahara Noir, and Vert d'Essence. Sad thing is, this might smell better than all of those because there is nothing about Ébène Fumé that is bold or off-putting. It is probably the safest incense forward fragrance I have ever smelled. This fragrance is all about the marketing. I imagine sales associates selling plenty of these bottles to wealthy men who don't know anything about fragrances, who consequently are wowed by the fact that this smells like incense. Whoa, this is insane. Come smell this one, Chad. I want this one. It's wild. Meanwhile, plenty of incense fragrances that are under $100 smell far better, but the wealthy dudes at Saks and Neiman Marcus aren't told about the existence of those. This is him instead. Social Assassin Dunn said, Thuja, pepper, and cypress are the main notes in Bois Moroccan. Therefore, I don't agree with the similarities people are having. The resemblance to Gucci Pour Homme 1 is also rather vague, as the only thing I can think of that is similar is the Papyrus Accord. I do not recommend blind purchasing Ébène Fumé thinking it's a reboot. It's not. It has nothing to do with tobacco oud either. On scent alone, it's rather unique, dark, resinous scent that consists of smoky papyrus, dry Palo Santo leather, and violet leaves. Sounds masculine, but the blend is rather unisex, and women could easily wear this one. All in all, a great fragrance on scent alone. Lisa Gao, 27, said, bought it today and decided to return it. At first, the burning scent was amazing. After that, I noticed there is a strong leather scent came out, which really decreases my love for this perfume, and I got a light headache from this scent. Dr. Afro said, we'll update to my review. Went through the decant sample and loved it. Ordered a full bottle and got my it on the 8th, and so far it is wonderful. I have to say this is a beautiful, with a slight sweetness to it and the dry down that isn't cloying or synthetic at all. Yep, I returned that 8.5 ounce bottle of Tobacco Vini and will keep this. FYI, the lot number B51 May 21 for Tobacco Vini is terrible. They really jacked that fragrance up. Nothing at all like its original. Spicy Sauce 5 said, very nice. Greener than I expected. The Palo Santo is unique but not weird. I'm surprised it isn't used more often. Maybe it's expensive. Very smooth and easy to like the smoky green woods. I'd prefer the quieter papyrus and a touch of maybe cedar, perhaps a drop quieter pepper. But it's definitely nice for what it is. I don't get much sweetness from the resins. This is grown up, but not overly matured. Balanced overall. I think this would be an amazing Zen room spray for a luxe hotel lobby, but don't love it for a fragrance to wear, at least not on me. It's a nice combo, clean and smoky like an outdoors bonfire with lumber and leaves on the ground, but with a slight breeze picking everything up. That must be from the violet leaf. This aspect is just like the Gucci everyone compares it to, as not overly heavy or winter only. Quality is really good in my opinion. Smells expensive. I don't feel that way about some other Tom Ford private blends. Edit. Late dry down is very buttery. The green and buttery aspect with the woods reminds me a lot of Hafidi. but less rose, more incense. A slightly more avant-garde and less gentlemanly Halfeti. Cool. 6.5 out of 10 for my taste, but 8 out of 10 objectively. Accent said, Ébène Fumé is a fantastic, woody, spicy fragrance that was an instant love for me. As is noted below, this scent is smoky and mysterious with a very dark overall ambiance that makes it well suited for cool to cold weather. The fragrance opens with a smoky, peppery incense note which hangs around for a considerable time. The Palo Santo wood in the opening is reminiscent of Santal but with a less creamy feel. The heart of the scent is papyrus forward and reminds me of Papyrus Oud 71 by Parlez-moi des Parfums and its better known sibling Gucci Pour Homme 1. The warm, rich scent is moderately projecting and has considerable longevity. The papyrus is accented by dry rose and a rich, warm leather. The blending is excellent and the quality is very high. In the dry down, the ebony wood from the labels shows up and it is rich, warm, and dark. This interesting note is accented with rich resonance note that somehow manages to enhance and bring out the ladanum that was lurking in the background during the heart note phase. Overall, the quality and composition here harkens back to some of the best Tom Ford scents of the past. This fragrance is now overwhelming, and given its dark, smoky incense, spice, and woods elements, it so easily could have been choking and impenetrable. It seems that crafting a fragrance that is not incredibly dense but never feels watered down with this rich, dark odor profile is quite an accomplishment. If you are a lover of dark, complex, masculine-leaning scents, you'll adore this well-crafted gem. This fragrance is well worth making an effort to test or sample. Highly recommend. Sweet Pumpkin said, This is gorgeous. Very smooth on my skin. Incense woody goodness. I ordered a bottle from Sephora yesterday for $227 after tax VIB sale. Just a heads up if you want to save a little money on this. The Gumbinator said, Just smelt this at Holt Renfrew. This is definitely old school Tom Ford. I absolutely love it. It's very woody and smoky and would be suited for men. If I had to say what this initially reminds me of in the very beginning, it reminds me of the opening of Autumn Vibes by my son, Martin Margiela. I would say very identical, but Ébène Fumé is very smooth and much more refined. I would definitely own this one. Well done, Tom Ford. Back to your old days, homie. 9 out of 10. Vince Chi 1178 said, Tom Ford took us to church with this one. No, really. This opens with a super smoky, woody incense that calls to mind a religious ceremony. I can almost see robed men lighting thuribles and chanting in Latin around a bonfire in a secluded forest. It's mysterious and somewhat unexpected and frankly wholly enticing. The woody note here listed as Palo Santo is a marvel. It's reminiscent of sandalwood, but it's not an exact match to my nose. It's different, distinct. As the smokiness dries down, that wood scent starts to really rise and sing. After an hour or so, I've moved from church to a woodshed. I could picture piles of sawdust made from a sweet, light, pliable wood. As someone whose father routinely worked with wood, I find it a comforting scent. All this smoke, wood, Latin chants would suggest the fragrance is dark, heavy, but it's not. It's definitely something I wear in colder months, but there is a lightness to it that I find quite appealing. On my skin, this is fairly linear. I pick up some of the other notes listed: leather, a hint of floral, and some peppery spiciness. But wood and smoky incense are the stars of this show. Longevity was great on my skin. It lasted hours, and I could catch it on my clothes the next day. Because it's so linear and so distinct, I will admit tiring of it after some time. But it never got so bad that I was tempted to shower. Sillage is moderate. This is not a beast mode fragrance. Like everything sold anywhere for any price, it's $100 worth the price tag if A, you like it, B, you want it, and C, you can still afford food after purchasing it. I personally look forward to going back to that smoky religious ceremony from time to time, and who knows, I may end up being converted into a true believer. BBJR said, this is Santal Blush blended with Arabian Wood. This stuff is gorgeous. A home run for Tom Ford. It gets dark so early, Dunn said. Was only able to smell this on a blotter today as the sales associate only had a small sample vial and was rationing it until stock arrived. She thinks next week. First impression was it smells identical to Costume National Home. Then for a brief moment I get M7. In either case, I'm here for this. Looking forward to trying this on my skin. Sadly, it's only 50 ml for the foreseeable future. She said her location was to receive 250 ml decanters, but the order was canceled for now. And in an earlier review from Dr. Afro, as a charming, sophisticated man of color, the name of this jumped out to me right away, and I instantly found love before even smelling it. Ébène Fumé, or Ebony Fire. Yes, please. Jumps straight into my favorite Tom Ford fragrance counter at Nordstrom to pick up a decant sample, and I have to say I enjoyed it. It's in the clear bottle, so you know it's lighter, not as heavy, not as strong as the dark bottles, but it's definitely a pleasant, smoky, dark, yet fruity fragrance that is not synthetic or cloying. This is essentially the refined answer to Azzaro's Most Wanted and Wanted by Night. But I think the major difference here is that this is lighter, a little bit more subtle, and it's not synthetic, fruity, smoky scent like Azzaro stuff. I try both Azzaro's Wanted by Night and Most Wanted, while I find them in concept very pleasant. There is a synthetic air to them that just prevented me from purchasing them. This is certainly not the case with Ébène Fumé. I had just purchased a full 8.4 ounce of Tobacco Vanille to be worn this winter, but I might return it. Oh, he did end up returning it. Returning that and keeping this for the winter. I'm going to try to decant to see how it goes. I have an event tonight. I just can't decide whether or not I want to go with the Tobacco Vanille or this new decant I got today. First world problems. The Wolf said, normally for the Fragrantica smell similar list is all over the place, but I must congratulate my Fragranticans. You guys hit the nail on the head with this scent. It smells like a mixture of these similar scents, these smell similar fragrances to my nose. Gucci Pour Homme 1, Papyrus and Incense, Tuscan Leather, Leather and Labdaman, Santal Blush, Sandalwood and some powder, and Tom Ford Amber Absolute Amber. It's also got some pepper and violet happening to give a little gasoline petrol vibe. Smells great on a tester, but you must try it on skin. On my skin, it was very spicy in the opening and mid, and the dried down somewhat spicy and leather and spicy powdery sandalwood. On my female friend, much sweeter throughout with an amber dry down. Well crafted and definitely smells like a lot of different Tom Ford fragrances rolled into one, It's also pretty strong and has a solid longevity. If you are a fan of Tom Ford like I am, you will like this. Is it better than my favorites like Tobacco Vanille or Oud Wood? No, but it's still a solid release. Scent 8 out of 10. Performance 8 out of 10. Flop 77 said, I wanted to let anyone interested know that you can pick this fragrance up at Heathrow currently. My other half just grabbed me a bottle and the price was amazing, £144 for 50 ml. I can't give much information on the scent as he isn't a frag head, and the maximum I could get out of him was woody, smoky, very you. Some of my favorite fragrances are Angel Shares, Ujan, Double Vanille, and Red Tobacco. So hopefully that's somewhat helpful to someone. Spice Glass said, the most accurate and concise way I can describe Ébène Fumé is its Santal Blush After Dark. I find this scent amazing. An opening sandalwood and then becomes an amazing, rich, almost peppery incense instead of subtle powdery note Santal Blush turns into. I sprayed it on my hand after getting it home, and it's still there after needing to wash my hands with soap and water, so it has some staying power. Elegant and enigmatic. Very likely a new favorite. If you want to achieve a similar scent, layer Tom Ford Santal Blush with Armani Privé Bois d'Essence. Raul Quarti said, warm, spicy, resinous. Very deep winter fragrance, reminds me of Christmas time. Can be had at much lower price. Jaguar signature of excellence, which is not on Fragrantica. A 90% match with better performance, but a slightly weird bass note added. Perfume Empress said, someone said, I hear this actually will sell at the lower end part of private blend line at $263. Ooh, only 263. What a steal. I'll take 3. God bless you, Tom, the unwashed proletariat. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for making your exalted fragrances so budget friendly. Heavy sarcasm, I know. And never deserved better. I hope Fragrantica won't go full censorship on me. Philippi 1, an earlier one, said £178 here in UK, so at the lower end of private blend pricing. Xtina Dunn said, like someone else previously mentioned here, this is defo Tom Ford going back to his old roots. I'm not sure it's just me, but I sense a mix between signature and private collection. To be more specific, Sahara Noir meets Tobacco Oud and rip their clothes off. It's woody smokes and incense sprinkled with ground black peppercorn. Also, I remember an ex of mine used Gucci Pour Homme one, and it does remind me of that one, but it's not the same, just a few mutual notes. So I'd say this one is more masculine than feminine scent. Lil Jukoval said, it costs $263 for a 50 ml. Aloha Kamamaina. Hello all. I've had this for about a month. I got an early release bottle. It's a great scent. It lasts very well on my skin, which not everything does. It's not a strong projector, but I was told by a few people the trail is really nice. Honestly, I don't really get all these notes, but it's blended well. The Palo Santo wood is wonderful and very pronounced. There's no florals, no real sweetness. For me, just almost cinnamon of the Palo. There is something dark and oily in the back. Maybe it's the violet and cade oil. I'm not familiar with the cade. I am on Instagram, and I actually have pics last month when I got it. I'm so special. But just posted my first Halloween pic of it. Gotta be festive. Enjoy all. P.S. My Instagram is Fred's Frags and Things. Andy the Frenchie said, I went both to Saks and Neiman Marcus in Chicago today. No sign of that one. And in both cases, Tom Ford's SA was already gone for the day. All right. These are people just anticipating the release, which was officially November 1st. But it's Ryan NXOX said, I went to Nordstrom's today to get a Tom Ford fragrance for my birthday and was completely just surprised to see this there. Whoa. I've seen a lot of discussion on whether it's out yet or not, and I know Tom Ford's Instagram is just now preparing to officially announce it. I was instantly intrigued when we found out about this new edition and its notes, and for me, it definitely did not disappoint. It smells just how I hoped it would. The incense is definitely the star and stays prominent throughout the life of the fragrance. There's also some subtle floral tones and the leather. It's very rich and resinous scent. Absolutely beautiful. The opening has a slight freshness to my nose. I think it might be the cade oil since it does remind me a bit of a pine tree. That mixed with the sweetness from the incense makes a scent that reminds me a bit of sap from my Christmas tree during the holidays. Definitely a fall winter scent for me. For performance, I still have to test it more, but I sprayed it on at Nordstrom's and I had a pretty strong projection. Even after walking outside for 4 to 5 hours, then it stuck around on my skin pretty much till I washed it off. So for me, so far at least, I have no complaints about the performance. Marcel35 said, it's funny, everyone has a bottle. I encourage you to upload a photo of the bottle. Texas Freedom said, bought my bottle. My rep said, we're not supposed to sell them yet, but sold. Jose Ebus said, yeah, this is gorgeous. Pure, slightly floral Catholic mass incense. Heaven exceeded my expectations on what I was hoping it would smell like. Fragrance lover for you. It's Santal blush amped up with incense and leather. Really no more, no less. It's definitely not tobacco oud in any shape, form, or fashion. It also puts me in the mind of a Serge Lutens type fragrance. Hyphy said, this opens up smelling a lot like Tom Ford Bois Moroccan, dry and woody. It quickly becomes a mixture of sweet balsamic, amber, and incense. In the drive down, you start to pick up this powdery musk while the balsamic becomes sweeter. Very beautiful and great for the chilly fall weather. Okay, what did Stephanie... Steven MPX said also, following up, I was told by a Tom Ford associate that this would be out the 1st of November in the US and UK. Ready your wallets, everyone. Okay. Michael 62. I've been told it's a February release here in Australia, just at the tail end of summer. Hopefully it's Stephen MPX is correct, re-lowering the price, as I'm tired of Australian $480 for the latest private label 50 ml offering. $360 is a slight better on the wallet, LOL. See, these people are just talking about the release of this. Young Fragger said, to confirm what Stephen MPX mentioned below, this fragrance was listed and shortly up for sale on the Macy's website, priced at $263 for a 1.7 ounce or 50 ml size. There were 6 bottles in stock and almost immediately went out of stock. Either an accidentally online launch or those 6 bottles got bought pretty quick. Steven MPX keeps talking about it. Potentially good news. I hear actually will sell at the lower part of the private blend at $263 US dollars, according to the friend at Neiman's. Time will tell. Punk rock bebop Dunn said, I tried this at Tom Ford Boutique in New York City, and these are my first impressions. This calls back to the older classic Tom Ford private label type releases, and I'm glad to smell a Tom Ford release with some guts again. It's strong, woody with rosewood to me, and cedar with high-pitched Palo Santo floating above these deeper woods. It is quite resinous and very sweet with oily turpentine feel, which is slightly sickening but distinctive. At the same time, it's a loudly floral and leathery in the opening, which mixes with the resins and gives off a rich lady vibe, though this is unisex. The incense whispers through the composition, but is not prominent. It's just a compliment. Very well done. I'll be interested to try this one again. A strong light, but there are other woody, resinous perfumes that I prefer to this. TS4R said, I smell this from a lab sample. Short and wide cylindrical atomizer with Ébène Fumé written on it, and a percentage provided to a North American EL employee. So this guy's like a spy and trying to tell people. The launch is guided for late October. Now, how it smells. This is Tom Ford going back to its roots and taking the learnings of the new perfumes, Lost Cherries, Massafeel, and the old perfumes' risque factors, tobacco oud, GPH1, YSL, M7, and then combining them. It doesn't smell like these, but it takes risks and has mass appeal. It smells like if tobacco oud was made into a Middle Eastern tea and run across resins and labdanum. It is neutered in terms of loudness and opens up extremely smooth. It borrows some elements from tobacco oud at the top and some elements from Gucci Pour Homme 1 at the mid and base. It is a suit and tie type of perfume that will do well sales-wise. I think it will please niche heads and the everyday Joe and frag head. The only issue, again, is that it's missing that oomph a la tobacco oud or Tuscan leather vintage batches. It's just a really nice perfume. I could see why someone would say it smells similar to Gucci Pour Homme 1. I could see this being a tea scent if a tea scent was to be interpreted as an oriental tea with some spices blended in it. However, it doesn't have the finesse and complexity of Gucci Pour Homme 1 at all. It is closer to Bentley Absolute, but without the incense being in your face. And an earlier review from Aloha Kama Aina said, I emailed TomFord.com. I asked when the release would be. They did get back to me and let me know that unfortunately it has been pushed back to 2022. I'm hoping that means January, LOL. Now I've seen a tester here and there that was distributed. Soul Assassin also said earlier, I was in Vegas all last week and dropped by Tom Ford Boutique. Both associates were clueless of the fragrance or its release date. A distasteful experience. But it's out now, ain't it? Fragrance Jet Dunn said to Flippy, it's not entirely impossible. I've had someone who worked at Estee Lauder get me a bottle of Tom Ford Tuscan Leather Intense almost a little over a month before the public release. Flippy 1 said, can't wait to get my hands on this. Love the bottle and tasting notes blind buy for me. If it launches first on TomFord.com, Harrods is always a good bet for an early testing. Rob 80 said, why is Gucci Pour Homme in the reminds me of this section and no reviews to back it up? If you're silent, speak up, tell us. And the Trevor said, the very first review, this must be the ultra masculine Tom Ford Carlos was talking about in his latest live stream. Peace be upon him. Hope it revives some faith in the brand. That was the hope. All right, I want to thank you for joining me on the Tom Ford Ébène Fumé Fragrantica Reviews Read Out Loud. Please subscribe. I'll see you next time. Thank you. Goodbye.